So, is there someone who wants to go first?
Well, can I actually change it up a little bit?
Yeah.
Can we like talk about maybe some films that we've seen recently based pretty much on holiday or season? So for example, like Halloween, we've probably seen some like thriller, horror type movies, but we've also seen like, for example, Over the Garden Wall.
Oh,
Someone's
yeah.
seen that. Like just some things that you found like that set the mood for you in the season.
Yeah, right now we're filming this in like early November, mid-November-ish. So, fall, winter season.
Right. So who? Okay, I know we've seen Over the Garden Wall. I know you've seen a couple episodes. Have you seen it?
No, I have not yet.
Okay. It was pretty much like a mini series. That's the best way to tell it.
Yeah. So, like 10 episodes, 11 minutes each.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You can watch the whole thing in like 2 hours.
It's actually pretty simple. I love the art design on it, the story and the plot. It's interesting when you first see it because it's like, what is going on? But I don't know, I kind of got engulfed in it a bit more. And it was cool to see Elijah Wood as one of the main characters. And I would not think he'd take on a project like this, but I thoroughly enjoyed it because it was something different from what I was used to in my childhood. You know, watching like Teen Titans or Foster's Home. Those were like very weird in their own aspect, but this was like different because they're going into like a completely different realm. But yet it was very entertaining to like see where it was going to go next. I thought it was something creepy, but it was something that wasn't like disdainful to me. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It's something that I think would like kind of set the mood for like that fall vibe. Like there's like that one episode with like the pumpkin people, and I was like, what is going on? And at the end you're like, oh, this is actually kind of fun.
Yeah. It's got this very like old-timey Americana feel to it. Everything kind of looks like 1800s in terms of like the wardrobe and the set design and stuff. And yeah, it's not like a Halloween kind of show. Like it's not like scary. There's some like kind of creepier elements, but it's just cozy. I feel like it really is like a November kind of show. October's where you watch all your horror movies, which we'll get to in a little bit. But it's like the perfect fall movie because it's very cozy. You can like curl up in a blanket, drink hot chocolate. There's like kind of some spooky things happening, but overall it's very endearing. And the 10 episode arc is just perfect.
That's cool.
So I'd really recommend it. It's on HBO Max right now.
It's also on Hulu.
Okay.
But if you want to watch those ads. But actually, I don't think there's ads. I think it's just a full episode.
Yeah, I don't know where they put ads in an 11-minute
Exactly.
episode. But yeah, it's really good. So I'd recommend it to you, Jared, and then I recommend it to anyone listening. It really is just like the perfect fall animated cartoon.
Yeah, it's funny when like for Halloween, I was at the school running like the business, the booth, all that. The amount of gray costumes that went by, I was like, oh, Over the Garden Wall.
Yeah, my wife and I were Wart and Greg for Halloween.
I had no idea.
Yeah, it was really fun. My wife crocheted the frog.
Oh, okay.
That's in the show.
What was his name?
Depends on the episode.
I guess it's fair. Was there one Ben Franklin?
Yeah, Benjamin Franklin, Mr. President, George Washington, Jason Thunderberger.
Yeah, Thunderberger. That was his name.
Wart Jr.
Yeah, it's funny. For those who haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. It's really fun. And it's pretty appealing.
Definitely watch it.
Has anyone else watched anything like fall vibes wise or like anything spooky? I know we'll get a little bit into that.
I think like the most recent movie that I watched for like spooky season that I loved was the Blair Witch Project. I watched that with Jared was there, Spencer.
I was not.
And
yeah.
I was surprised by how much I loved that. We watched it with a bunch of other people. Most of us liked it, with a couple notable exceptions. But I just was blown away by how much it stands up if you just take it for what it is and you kind of put yourself in the time period when it came out and you just let yourself believe that what you're seeing is real. It is just super effective, perfect runtime, pacing, editing. It's fantastic. The acting is great, especially that they're all like no names. I loved it, and it's got to be in like my top 5 or so horror movies.
Yeah. Wasn't this film like the lowest budget, but they made so much profit from it?
Yeah.
I think that's like number 1.
It might be, as in like return on investment.
Right.
Because it basically like spawned all of those other like low budget horror movies like Paranormal Activity, because it showed that you can use minimal money, and if you do it effectively, then it still works really well, and you can make a bunch of money off of it.
Right.
So you might be right. I don't know for certain, but
It's funny. You don't need much when it comes to making certain films like this. Like for example, Saw. I think that's another one. All they used was one room.
I
And
saw
then-
that.
yeah, there's like a couple actors.
Exactly, and it was a big hit. And I'll tell you what, that terrified me as a kid. And I know my siblings are listening. Yeah, y'all scarred me. That's why I don't like horror movies all that much anymore. Never did.
Well, that's some of the worst of the worst. There's definitely other, like, more easier to watch as a viewer. I think that some movies can tend to be, like, torture porn, basically. Yeah, imagine being in the theaters watching Blair Witch when it came out in, like, what was it, like 2000 or something? And the way they marketed this movie, and it was the first of its kind as being, like, a found footage film. So the whole time, in terms of the marketing schemes, you're believing that all of this is actually found footage and that it was just college students filming their own short film and things went wrong. And here they found the footage from it. So like not only does the movie do a good job, but I just couldn't imagine walking out of that theater believing that, because it is, even now, like putting myself in their shoes and sitting there and letting myself believe. It is so well done. I would never believe anything otherwise. And they also kind of solidified it. I think there was a website at the time where you could like look at like crime scene photos of what they found in the woods and stuff after the movie.
What would you call it, Blair Witch lore?
Yeah, pretty much. So like there was nothing that would keep you in doubt because the movie's so well made, and they just like, it was the first of its kind and the best I think of what I've seen of found footage films.
And I feel like that at least experience with the marketing, it's like irreplicable, because once you do it once and you're able to fool everyone, everyone's kind of been spoiled for that now. So like if they were to try to make a movie nowadays where they were like, oh no, this is legit, nobody would believe it. It'd be really easy to tell that it was fake. You'd be able to find flaws in the website. People would be looking for that kind of stuff. But back then, because this had been unheard of, and obviously like not everyone who watched the movie at the time believed that it was real. But just it's so much more convincing when it's the first one that even attempted trying to trick everyone. Whereas now, if you were to try to do that, I don't think anyone has ever thought that Paranormal Activity movies are real, for example.
But the closest we can get now is just like based on a true story. But it's not the same, you know.
Right. The only thing I can think of with found footage is exactly like pretty much like the Backrooms. I think I've showed you guys that. I know. That's the only one I can think of. There was another one I can't remember. I just had it in my brain, but
I've heard good things about the Rec.
Yeah.
Record. They're like these Spanish films, or Mexican or something.
Okay.
I don't remember what country, but they're in Spanish at least. There's two of them. I've heard that the first one's better, but it also is like found footage, and it supposedly is really good. They made an American remake called something, I don't know, but something bad.
It just wasn't good.
Before we move on, like, do we want to talk at all about like bad audience reactions, like Nosferatu?
So that's when I went and saw Nosferatu, the original black and white silent film, at the International Cinema Night, because it's German, and it was
hard to sit there with that audience that we were with, because it was a silent film, and it was very, very, like, film in general, I think, was pretty new, and people were not taking it seriously, like, at all, because there was a lot of goofy effects that had, like, aged pretty poorly, but people were, like, laughing at it, like, at its expense, instead of, like, kind of sitting there and, like, kind of taking it in and enjoying it for what it is. People just, like, kind of mocked it, really, and it was really hard to sit through with that particular audience. And it's like we were saying, like, a lot of modern movies, like we were saying, like Marvel movies in particular, they kind of expect you to laugh at a lot of things, and so that's kind of what it's done to moviegoers in general, just to like find anything to laugh at, just to like maybe even laugh off like something that might be uncomfortable. And it was just really hard. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying about Marvel and how it kind of conditions audiences to react to films to react to every film in the same way. Doesn't matter what the genre is, the time period, the style. You react to it the same way. You laugh at the same parts. And yeah, it was really hard because no matter what you think of the film and how well you think it has aged or not, just the disrespect of 80% of the audience to just be laughing the whole time at things that are not intended to be funny was distracting and made it really hard to even just form your own opinion, because at least for us, it kind of felt like I need to be on the movie's side because everyone else was laughing at it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if I could form my own opinion and say oh, this worked, this didn't, but it made it a very rough viewing experience. So I'm really glad that for Grave of the Fireflies it wasn't like that, because that would have just been awful.
I was terrified. I was expecting it.
Yeah.
That's our PSA. Be respectful.
Yeah, be respectful of other audience goers. You may find it funny, and I get it. There were some things in Nosferatu that I thought looked kind of silly, that had aged weirdly, but to respect other people watching it and not disrupt their immersion, don't bother everyone else by laughing at inappropriate times.
Mm-hmm. Right, I agree. Have you still not seen Grave of the Fireflies?
No, you guys gotta let me know when you're watching it, because I want to watch that with a group.
No.
I know you watched it recently.
No,
but...
I know, but I don't. You should definitely just watch it on your own.
Yeah, or with one or two people that you think would take it as seriously as you. Mm. That's how, because TK showed Jared and me.
Well, I'm gonna watch that soon.
Okay, let me know.
And we're literally each on our own row in a movie theater. So
yeah,
and I'm glad.
It was the theater room we had.
We did not look at each other because we did not want the other people to see us bawling.
Well, okay. Quick story. I didn't know if they would like the film because this, I barely knew David.
Because this was basically your La La Land, where you didn't really want to show us because you didn't know how we'd take it.
Exactly, and I didn't know Jared very well at all, really. Mm-hmm. So I had placed myself behind them because I didn't want to see them why is this his favorite movie? Kind of like what David was saying.
Why are you crying?
Yeah, I was like, this is your favorite movie? So I was scared. I was my hands were together, cross stitched, and I was moving my thumbs in a circle rotation, or pointing index together. And I was like, please like this film. And at the end, I was about to turn on the lights. It was turn that off. What?
Yeah, can't catch his breath.
Right, yeah. I was like, in my mind, I'm like, is that guy crying?
And we were like, go get tissues.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah. And I only had the travel size tissue pack, right?
We were passing that back and forth. Jared was just every once in a while he would just blurt out, F you, TK.
Yeah. Why did you make me watch this? I was like,
It was, we were in there after the movie was over for 20 minutes. Yeah. Just trying to recompose ourselves. Because we would kind of stop crying and then we would start crying again. And then after 20 minutes it was we're starving, we're tired, we're crying our eyes out, let's go get food.
Yeah, I remember David was pacing back and forth in the theater room I was like, oh gosh, that impacted them a little more than I was anticipating.
Well, I feel like I am due for a good cry, No,
by all means.
And not a whole lot of movies have made me feel. And sometimes I feel emotionalist when I watch movies with you guys, because I feel like you guys get a little bit more emotional than I do, especially
Well, I don't, but okay.
What? Lord of the Rings.
Okay, well, yeah, that's one of the.
That was
I literally have
exposed.
I have a list.
Sorry.
I started making a list of movies that make me cry because
there's
few enough.
Okay.
I actually joked with my wife a little bit ago that she should make the opposite list, where it's a list of movies that don't make her cry. I typically don't. So
yeah,
Grave of the Fireflies has made me cry harder than anything ever.
Okay.
So.
My roommate.
And that's not to make your expectations too high, but it's also to say you can trust the film, you're in good hands, and it will lead you on that emotion.
Right.
I expect to cry at least. I hope to cry.
You don't have to hope for this movie.
Okay.
It's not even.
So
it's gonna
the
happen.
thing is, so two of my roommates went to watch it, but they thought it was okay, right? It was similar in the sense of who was it? I remember I was talking to someone in this group, and we were watching a film. They're like, I couldn't. Oh, it was you. And we were watching, it was David, I pointed at David. I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once, but you couldn't connect with the film like we could.
Yeah.
So they were saying the same thing, I couldn't connect to any of these characters.
How?
That's what I was also concerned at that point too. But I was like, that's fine. That's okay.
It's okay.
Whatever.
Yeah, but there are people that I've seen the claim that, oh, this is just like misery porn, and it's so excessively sad, and there's no point to it, and it's just miserable.
Mhm.
And I think we'll talk about that later when we talk about the film recommendation for today. But I disagree with that statement, but that might be part of what your friends are talking about.
My friend's cry list of movies that have made him cry is Grave of the Fireflies when I watched it with him, and Bolt. That's as long as the list goes.
The
We're like,
animated,
what? Yeah,
Disney
animated
movie?
puppy movie from Disney.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, if he's listening to this, by all means, bro, if that makes you cry, makes you cry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, he was like, I'm not going back to it because I'm afraid it's going to not make me cry. He's like, I saw it as a kid and I remember it made me cry. He's like, it probably won't now. Or maybe it would make it worse and I'll cry worse. And it's like, he's like, I'm never going back to it.
Only
like, okay.
2 movies have ever made me cry. One was Radio, and the other one was Manchester by the Sea.
Oh,
Wait,
But that was because I was also going through a really bad breakup.
Radio?
But yeah, Radio. It's been so long. It's like a football movie.
Oh. I was thinking Radio Flyer. That's
well, speaking of bad horror movies, TK is the only one in the group that actually watched Smile. So, is there anything you wanted to say about that?
Yeah. So the reason I got hooked into watching Smile, I went on a double date and they wanted to watch a movie, and so we went and watched that, and it was good because we were in a movie theater, and it was the last showing that would be playing in theaters here in town. So we pretty much had the whole theater to ourselves. I would say that I'm a pretty big scaredy cat. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm pretty sure I was the only person that didn't really get scared in the whole film. Grant, I feel like the story was pretty mid. That's the best way I can put it. The jump scares, I think that was the only part that made it worth, I don't know, exciting a little bit.
I heard it's like called like basically Jump Scare, the movie.
That's all it. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. The ending could have been way better, in my opinion. There was a bit of a plot twist I was not expecting, and I was like, whoa, okay, that I was not expecting that. But then it just ends just like that, and you're like, wow, that was kind of dumb. How it was not the closure I was wanting. Just put it in short. So pretty much jump scares, okay plot, below average ending. I don't know. I can't really describe it. That's all I'm going to say because y'all didn't see it. Acting could have been better. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the film. There was really nothing that stuck out to me. Even when you see like the entity or creature near the end, you're like, I'm not that terrified of this thing, honestly. But then again, I was with the group, and so yeah, it was okay.
Such a simple plot of like, oh, I have this sickness I now have that others have had. I must find its origin because I have a time clock before I die from it too, so I must stop it.
Did you watch the film?
That's what the trailer just shows.
Oh,
And
yeah.
also the plot of The
tra-
Ring.
I was gonna say this sounds like
Yeah.
The Ring, but like
Yeah.
dumber.
Yeah.
I haven't seen The Ring. I remember. Oh, actually, no, I did as a kid.
Which
Again,
one?
my siblings
the Japanese one, or the
suck. No, American.
American one, okay.
American one. But as a kid, though, that terrified me. But yeah, that's similar plot.
Small tangent, but that reminds me. Before I watched The Barbarian with the group I showed the trailer just to see if it garnered interest from everyone. And in the trailer, I think it says, like, you know how movies would be like, from the producers of Shrek or something, you know, like, yeah, it said, like, from the producer of The Ring. And someone legit I won't say who they were, but they were like, oh, that movie scared me. I think I'll like this one. And it literally just said from a producer of The Ring. It's like one dude that was there for the movie. It just happens to be part of this one.
For which trailer?
I think it was for Barbarian. It said a couple different movies of like from the producers of this movie, from a producer of this movie. And they're like, oh, that one's scary. Or I think one was it. They're like, ooh, that's a scary one. I was like, you guys are actually like...
You know, the producer has like...
yeah.
They don't write the movie.
Yeah, this movie's not going to be It Part 3, if that's what you're thinking. Like, they legit we're just seeing the words on the screen and we're like, oh, this is gonna be a good one.
I mean, it shows you how effective that marketing
effective.
ploy is.
It works really
that's
well.
Just ethos right
I think
there.
that's the only
want the
thing
credibility.
that we can agree on that was good about the movie was the marketing. Because like they were doing those stunts where like they were just
Oh,
having people
now you're
stand
talking about
and-
Smile?
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say
Wait, what are we
Barbarian. I was like,
talking
I
about?
did not know about that film.
Oh, I was just talking about like watching the trailer for The Barbarian and how easy it is for people to be
Oh,
like,
right, yeah.
oh, from the producers of that thing, this movie will be good. It's like,
Well, that's what's really funny about like when new Pixar movies come out, and they always say like from the producers of Monsters Inc. and Finding Nemo, and it's like those movies that come out like at this point like decades ago.
Decades
Like,
ago.
you can't keep relying on that. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know you're Pixar and you can, but it just seems a little funny that you have to keep pulling from like your super
first
old
ones.
movie, your super old movies to keep getting people to come back. I don't know.
But yeah, I did like Smile's marketing campaign. That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Just having people
It's
stand
very
in public
simple.
and just
It's
like
super simple.
smiling.
definitely got the tension out there.
Yeah.
It did. I thought the trailer was hilarious. Every time someone did like a silly smile, it's like I can't take this seriously. This isn't scary. I do this like on my free time, like with Jared. Like when we were roommates, and we would just turn the lights off, and I would make my creepy face, and it's like they made a whole movie out of this. Like
I remember.
Me and Jared in a room,
Yeah.
smiling.
I could have made millions of dollars off of that.
I remember y'all did that to me in the car when y'all picked me up.
Oh, yeah. And you like pulled a knife on us.
I did pull a knife on you.
Yeah.
You remember that?
We picked him up and we started.
You
acting,
parked
We started
in the
acting
Airport
like
Park?
we had. That we were like not ourselves.
Yeah,
We
y'all
were
started acting
acting
like you were trying
aliens.
to kidnap me
We
and
were
all
trying to
that.
kidnap
And I was like, oh yeah? And I just pulled out my knife and you're like,
We had
wait.
just watched The Thing, and so we were acting as if we
Oh.
were like the things.
Yeah.
And so we picked him up, and he like pulled a knife on us, and we're like, "You guys."
How were you guys acting?
stop
Like
joking.
I was
I don't
I don't
even
even
remember.
really.
We just were creepy.
No, they were trying like, hey TK. Like and they're just trying to say like them like kidnapping me or something like that. I'm like, what are you talking about? You know,
We're
I
going
know
to
that-
Sonic.
I know they're joking, right? But I'm like, okay, you want me to play along? Okay, I'll be the protagonist. I remember they started getting freaked out too, but I didn't flick out the blade. But I had it out.